Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Get ready with me while I tell you a story time about the wildest LV employee holiday party I ever attended. I am getting ready to attend a holiday party. It's actually the Nordstrom holiday event. So I'm wearing this fun onesie pajamas. I'm bringing my 3 kids and we're all wearing matching onesies. This is the Shiseido eyelash curler. So yes, if you guys didn't already know, I used to work for LV all throughout college. I was there for quite some time. This is before I went to law school and got my big girl job. And so I've attended my fair share of LV holiday parties, but the first one I ever attended definitely took the cake for probably the wildest one. It was my first ever work holiday party. I was 19 years old, I think. And so I couldn't even drink yet. I already did my skincare, so I'm just going to apply the Merit Great Skin Serum for some hydration. Just to clarify, this is the employee holiday party, like the internal employee holiday party, not the VIP clients holiday party. I did attend those, I worked those, but were never really that exciting. For my under eyes, I'm using the Armani concealer in the shade 5.75. Now, every LV store pretty much has their own holiday party, and the type of event they host really depends on how big the store is, the size of the staff. I've never worked at one of the flagships. I'm sure they have huge parties because it's such a large staff. But typically, well, in my experience at least, and maybe they changed it, who knows, this was a while ago. They might have even done something where if there are a bunch of stores in one region, maybe they have a combined party. That makes a lot of sense. But when I worked there, it was kind of just everyone did their own thing. And I usually worked for smaller stores. So it was a very smaller staff, very intimate staff. But the first store I worked at was pretty big. I mean, it was pretty big. It was one of the biggest stores. I'm getting ready in the early evening, so I really don't need a high SPF in my foundation, but today I'm using the La Mer Soft Fluid Foundation and I'm in the shade 250 Sand. Okay, so again, when I was working for LV, I was in college. It was my first job that ever had a employee company holiday party, so I really didn't know what to expect. So what they did at this store was they had chartered vans, or a bus, or I don't really remember. Yeah, it was vans. It was multiple vans. They chartered these vans to take us into the city for a dinner. And you know what's so crazy? The dinner itself was so uneventful. I don't remember it at all. I vaguely recall that it was at an Italian restaurant, and I mean, the food was delicious, but I don't really remember anything exciting. But what I do remember is that every single one of my coworkers was drinking a ton. And mind you, I was just turned 20. I was 20 years old. I couldn't drink. And when you're at that young age, you try to drink or you try to sneak it, but they really, to their credit, they were being very careful. So yeah, I was 20 years old. I wasn't able to drink, obviously. And because it was a work function, I wasn't going to try to sneak it or something, But they were careful to tell the servers when I was ordering. They were like, she's not 21. There was already a wine glass on the table, so they took it away, which is fine. I wasn't expecting to drink. I didn't want to drink. Sorry, for the blush, it was the Fenty Beauty. This was a limited edition cream blush, but they might have the 2 shades. I like to mix these up. Highlighter is Rare Beauty in the shade Enlighten again. So I forget how many exactly was on our staff at this time, but I guess we had a part of the restaurant reserved, or maybe they just had 2 or 3 long tables reserved for us. But the alcohol definitely kept flowing, and some of my coworkers were getting nice and toasty. Eyeshadow palette is Makeup by Mario Master Mattes. And as the night progressed, I could definitely tell that they were getting drunk. I mean, they were getting blatantly drunk. I mean, it was fine. They were having fun. It was fine. But what I noticed was, if you check out my video where I talk about toxic work and the toxic work culture at LV, it definitely had its ups and downs. I mean, I was young. I tried to be just friends with everyone and keep my head above water. But even among the grown-ups, there was a lot of infighting, especially between the department managers and stuff and the assistant managers. There's a lot of competition with sales staff and whatever, so I always tried to stay out of that, but it was definitely there. And so what I noticed at the holiday party, everyone was pretty nice. Everyone was really nice to each other. I've always heard that alcohol really emphasizes and pretty much puts a loudspeaker to your existing feelings and just, what is it? Alcohol speaks the truth, or I don't know. Whatever the saying is. I thought there would be more drama in terms of people fighting, but it wasn't that way. Everyone just was trying to relax and have a good time. It was just a lot of wine. There was a lot of red wine flowing. Even though I wasn't a drinker, obviously I was underage, but I had been around wine. I worked at an Italian restaurant, so I was familiar with the, how wine is served and it's in a carafe. Fun story also, just as an aside. When I first started working as a waitress and I was serving alcohol, I did not know, because no one ever told me. It was like a small family restaurant. I didn't know how wine was supposed to be served in a wine glass. You know how like you have the wine glass, like here's the goblet part. The wine is supposed to be like down to here, like if this is the wine and then the stem. You serve the wine like up to here maybe. The first time I served a glass of wine, I poured that sucker all the way and I filled it up to the top, the tippy top of the brim. And I remember walking slowly to the table and setting it down gently. And the couple who ordered it, the lady was like, she didn't say anything, but years later, when I found out, when they finally told me how you're supposed to serve wine, I was like, oh. So anyway, that was my experience with wine. And I just remember as the night continued, like as the dinner continued, and it was family style, I'm pretty sure, like I don't remember even looking at a menu. I think they just kept putting out, whatever, big plates of food and bowls of salad, and then you just kind of dug in. I just probably got a soda. Some employees were drinking a lot of drinks. And enjoying their time and letting loose and having fun, making friends with people that were maybe enemies or frenemies throughout a regular work day. And then it was over. And again, forgettable dinner. Okay, sorry. See, like talking about these story times just dredges up more memories. And I'm sharing this, by the way, because a lot of you mentioned that in my last LV story time that you missed my LV story times, or that you enjoyed my story time. So I thought I would share some more. So that's why I'm talking about this. Plus, 'tis the season. It's about the holiday party. I do remember this one employee, and it was actually the same employee. If you watch my other LV lunch drama story time, it was that same employee, the same employee who complained that we were ordering lunch without her. She ordinarily is very not friendly. She's just wasn't the friendliest person. For a highlighter, I just have the same Chanel highlighter. Ivory gold is the shade. She drank a ton. A bunch of us were in the bathroom, and the Karen, I'll call her Karen, she was in the bathroom, and I don't know how we got to talking about it, but for eyeshadow, I'm using the Urban Decay Moon Dust in the shade Solstice. So we're all in the bathroom, and she just tells us that she has implants and that she's thinking of getting her implants redone or something. I wasn't a sheltered person. I don't know. I was 19. I didn't come from a particularly rich area or place where people get plastic surgery. Basically offering to show us her surgery. She had a breast augmentation. She had done it years ago. And so, like I said, she was talking about having it redone. She wanted to get bigger or something. She wanted to get it redone. And so we were just, going with the flow and talking about it. And she was like, oh, you can't even see the scar. I'll show it to you. And she just whips out her shirt in the bathroom and showed us her boobies. She let us feel it because we were like, how does it feel real? Like, I don't know about that. So I don't know the type she had or whatever, but it felt kind of hard. You could tell it wasn't like a natural breast tissue, I guess. And then she showed the scar, but it really was so fair. Like you couldn't even see it. Like there was basically no scar. I guess she scars pretty well. So I was like, oh, okay, great. I saw my coworker's boobs in the bathroom. So that was the first like kind of crazy thing that happened at the holiday party. Everyone was just letting loose. For eyeliner, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Color Chameleon in the shade Golden Quartz, just to smoke out my lash line. So, okay, so yeah, it was great. So I felt like things were cool between us and her now. And, after showing us her ladies. So now the holiday party was over and we're all getting in the van to get back to the store, our home base. We all had driven to the store and parked there. The vans took us to this restaurant in the city and then brought us back for the night. And it was a holiday party. It was sometime around this time, early to mid-December, and it was snowing already at this point. I don't know if it was actively snowing or it had recently snowed, but I do remember that there was snow on the ground, like a sufficient blanket of white snow. I think it actually had snowed while we were at dinner, because when we got back, it was like it was like a pristine white, fresh blanket of snow. And I remember this because as we were getting out of the vans, Huda Beauty eyeliner, as we were getting out of the vans in the parking lot, one of my managers leans over and starts puking her guts out all over the parking lot, all over the clean white parking lot, white with freshly fallen snow. She starts puking up all the red wine. It was so much and so fast. I remember looking at it, and if I didn't hear her puking sounds, I would have thought it was a crime scene. It was just like bright red, like a dark burgundy red all over the ground. She's doubled over. My other manager, these were two other managers that really didn't get along either. My other manager saw her and was like, oh my God, she's sick. Runs over to her because she's a mother and, you know, holds her hair back, holds her up, gets her hair out of her face as the first one continued to completely just throw up everything everywhere. And I remember looking at that and I was like, first of all, number one, I was horrified because I'd never seen anyone throw up. No, that's not true. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. I have seen people throw up, but not in a professional work setting. I mean, I think that was the only time I've ever seen that, even to this day. I just remember like thinking, first of all, wow, that's crazy that this is happening, you know, at work. Oh my gosh, I felt bad for her. But then I also thought, wow, that is so nice that my other manager, who these two do not get along, here they were, just two girls, beyond all the drama and fighting, they still can support each other during a time of crisis. And I thought that was really sweet. It was really crazy seeing my professional coworkers throwing up all over the parking lot. For liquid eyeliner, I'm using the Tarte Double Take. Anyway, so yeah, I just remembered it was so strange to go into work the very next day because again, it was the holiday season. So already it was a very busy time. Holiday hours extended the store hours. So we were all at work longer and seeing each other more frequently. And I was like, wow, I saw you throwing up all over the parking lot. She felt really bad, I guess. I don't know. It's looking back, it's not that serious, but at the time I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I hope it never happens to me. And it has not happened to me. Anyway, another crazy holiday kind of thing, and I mentioned this in my LV employee perks video. Again, because the holiday hours extended our store hours and, you know, we needed more staff, they would usually hire temporary seasonal staff to help fill in during the holiday hours. And sometimes they would have them help people, but a lot of times the temporary staff was just there to kind of, you know, run merchandise, package, help with shipping, stuff like that. For brows, I have the Dior Show Pumpkin Brow. Anyway, I became really close friends with one of the seasonal staff because she also was my age. We were the two youngest. I thought she was so sweet. I mean, we literally would go out. We would like go clubbing and stuff together. She was awesome. I loved her. Right before this holiday party, the one I just talked about, I was asking my manager, you know, if so-and-so, the seasonal employee was going, and she said, no, she's not going. Seasonal staff aren't allowed to come to the holiday party. And I was like, seriously? I was like, that makes no sense. They're literally holiday staff. They can't come to our holiday staff party. And she couldn't. You know, I mentioned that seasonal staff, unfortunately, they really kind of get the shit end of the stick because they do all the grunt work. They have the grunt hours, the, you know, annoying tasks during the holidays, but they don't get any of the employee benefits. They don't get the employee discount, which is the biggest benefit. They can't attend the holiday party gift. Occasionally we'll get holiday gifts from LV. They don't get anything. It's a bummer. So unfortunately, my holiday seasonal employee buddy was not able to attend. Holidays were always so crazy, especially with the customers. It just was so hectic. Another time, and this isn't my story, I wasn't there when this happened, but it was so funny to me. My manager was telling me a story about a client of hers. And now my manager, so sweet, loved her. She had, I guess it's called like a lazy eye, right? So sometimes, you know, when you're talking to her, her eye would, you know, maybe like look off to the side a little bit. And she was cool about it. Like she always joked about it. She called it her rolling eye or whatever. But she said that whenever she's tired or really excessively tired or stressed, like around the holidays, her lazy eye, whichever, you know, the lazy eye would be even worse. Like it would wander even farther away. And so she told me how this one time she was helping a client. It was at the very end of the long holiday, you know, store day. So like almost closing time, which around them was like 9 or 10 or 11. I forget how late the store hours were at that time. She gave the bag to the client. The client was looking at the bag. My manager was just kind of standing there, you know, just tired, looking at her. And she's talking to the customer. For whatever reason, the customer was also stressed and they just were both getting increasingly frustrated. So finally, The customer says to my manager, "Are you going to even look me in the eye when you're talking to me?" And my manager looks at her because, again, my manager had a lazy eye, and because she was so tired, her lazy eye had wandered all the way off to the side. So my manager looks at the customer and she was like, "How dare you? I have a lazy eye." And the customer was so mortified. My manager said the customer apologized profusely, like was really, truly, genuinely so sorry, apologized over and over. For mascara, I'm using the Tartelette tubing mascara. The customer was so profoundly sorry that even after this happened, like a couple days later or the next day, she literally sent a handwritten apology card to my manager, once again saying she's sorry. I think she even sent like an edible arrangements or something. I thought that was so funny. Sorry, it wasn't like anything like too crazy. Again, I have not been to any of the larger holiday parties. After that, that was the biggest store I worked at. And then since then, until I quit for school, I only worked at very small boutiques. And so at that point, the holiday parties were just, again, really small dinners at restaurants. I think maybe the only other notable thing was one holiday party at another store. It was at a Japanese restaurant, and I think I had just turned 21, so I was still in college, and we were at a Japanese restaurant, and I am kind of ashamed to admit it because I am Asian. It was the first time I had edamame. For those of you who remember the first time you had edamame, if you were not sufficiently advised, I did not know how to eat it. I just popped the whole thing in my mouth and chewed it, and I was thinking, this is very chewy. My other manager looked at me and he was like, "Wow, you just eat the whole thing?" And he was shocked. And I said, "Yeah, because, you know, arrogant me, I'm not going to admit when I'm wrong." And that's when I saw that everyone was spitting it out and that they had provided another bowl. But for blush, I have the House Labs Fire Opal. And that is the finished look. I am ready to go to this holiday party. It is raining and dreary outside and I have a long drive, but I am looking forward to it. But that is the story time of some of the LV employee holiday party shenanigans that we got into back when I worked for LV years ago. Let me know, what are your crazy work holiday parties stories? Some parties can get pretty crazy. After working in corporate law, I've seen definitely much wilder situations happen. It really wasn't that serious looking back, but at the time I was just fresh-faced and naive. But I hope you guys enjoyed this LV story time. Get ready with me. But yeah, share your stories below and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.